Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Danielle Vandehei. She's a world schooling mom, entrepreneur, sailor, and founder of Water World Micro Expeditions, immersive sailing, and marine life experiences designed for families and curious travelers. So we learn from her about her story and how stepping away from the rat race reset her family's nervous system, why the ocean became their classroom, and what happens when you let the world teach you. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show, Danielle. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about world schooling, we'll talk about family adventure, and we'll talk about what living with the ocean is all about and like. We'll talk about all this, but before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
I've been nomadic now for about 5 years. We originally have been on land most of our life. I always have been into the water. We did have a pontoon boat beforehand, but I had already decided I wanted to do things differently for my son. But then when COVID happened, I had been kind of already working, getting kind of slowly caught back up into the style of working a normal job and kind of trying to find that balance. And I lost a lot of my work because I was working remotely online building a digital agency. And so I took a job that one of my clients offered me and I started working a lot. But then after so long, I realized how much I was getting farther away from the dream that I wanted of being able to be there with my son. And I'd come home at 10 o'clock at night and I realized he was crying for his mom. I was exhausted. I was not loving my life anymore. And I decided I needed a huge shift. And I thankfully have a wonderful husband who was willing to jump on ship with me about the idea of doing something different in the world. And we had kind of thought about like, what kind of things do we want to do different? How do we want to approach this? And we didn't want to jump on a plane and start traveling that way. So we decided to do something different. We wanted to learn to sail. We had never learned sailing and we had just decided we were going to shoot for it. So my husband decided he would read sailing books for the whole fire season and while he was working. And I pretty much sold everything little by little. And we took the leap before our house had sold. So we decided to just like empty everything out and go for it on a budget and wait for everything to kind of happen. And it slowly worked. We went from Oregon all the way to Florida. We bought a small sailboat after talking to a captain who said, just, you guys seem pretty knowledgeable for what you did learn. Get a small boat and start learning. So we did. We ended up overhauling that boat beforehand. And afterwards, we realized that we really absolutely loved it. We all had already enjoyed the water, but we really ended up enjoying the ocean so much more. It had so many different lessons to teach us. And it was just such a unique thing that we had decided to do. And we, after a little while of being between land and the ocean, we were like, okay, this is the time. I think that it's time to start shifting full time. So we got rid of the small sailboat. We actually traveled around for a little while because we were not quite in the alignment. We were waiting for everything to kind of work out with our home. And we traveled around the States for a bit with a camper. And after about 2 years of traveling, between the traveling and the small sailboat, we had decided that we were going to get out of the States because our house took about a year to sell. And so we had about a year after that of just kind of the travel and getting rid of our small sailboat. And then we decided we weren't quite fully there yet because our house sold, but it was not all the way sold. So we were kind of like in a limbo still. We decided to go out of the country and go to Mexico. So we got a little minivan. We downsized from our camper to our minivan, and we traveled around in Mexico with a minivan for a while, Airbnb-ing it. And after we Airbnb, just at the point where we were kind of realizing, like, I don't like living out of a minivan and having all my stuff in it, because it was literally so packed and you'd have to carry everything out every different place that you go. We realized that we wanted to get a moving home again. And our alignment fell into place. And we were able to actually purchase that full time boat finally. So we went and found something down in Rio Dulce, Guatemala. And it ended up being exactly what we needed at that moment. And so we packed all of our stuff from Mexico and brought it back down to Guatemala. And we bought our full time sailboat. And now we've been living on this for 2 years, just over 2 years in March. And it's been super great. We have learned so much. We've sailed in Honduras, we've gone to Belize, we've come around down to Panama. And it's just been absolutely amazing everywhere we've gone. And we've really come to learn that, one, we enjoy being a family on our boat, but two, this is such a great way to learn different life experiences. And we want to be able to share that with more people. And so, as we had kind of been staying around in Panama, going between Bocas del Toro and San Blas, we realized that being in San Blas was such a beautiful place because it's farther away from the mainstream of city life and everything. And you really have time to slow down, recognize what's around you, be in nature, and just really embrace the water in a different way than if you were being close to land and you're sitting on just only the beaches, but you're just actually getting to like really get quiet with yourself. So it's been a beautiful journey and we're really excited. Of course, I've been also world schooling with my kid, and that was really, I think, the biggest spark for us recently, is that we just really love the idea of being able to share the experiences with other people.
Absolutely, Daniel. Thank you for that. So you are doing this, this particular show right now from your sailboat, if I understand that correctly. Is it?
Yep. Yep, I am.
Wonderful, wonderful. And the connection is much better than several times. I see some guests doing from their houses so differently. But it's nice to know that connection, internet connection from a sailboat can be still very good, and that is what I'm experiencing right now while talking to you. So where are you in terms of where is your boat? In which part of the world your boat is? Guatemala or any other country?
So we are in San Blas, Panama right now, which is these little islands on the edge of Panama, almost to Colombia. So that's where we are right now. And to answer your thought of the internet connection, Starlink is a beautiful thing, and I am a solid believer in it because it has really done me well over the time period of traveling.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wherever you go, Elon Musk comes with you in that
Yep,
sense.
yep, yep.
Wonderful. So, what are the challenges of your present life? How is your life right now? How have you built a normal life around this special life of yours?
I'd say the biggest challenge was finding my own alignment in the process of jumping out of the mainstream, of deciding that I wasn't going to just stick with one type of job that I was just not into. Um, Really just getting real with myself and spending that time to do the inner work. Of course, there's also other things that outside forces besides work that are also a different challenge. One thing I always tell people is you start to think differently on a boat. You think more about your water conservation. You think more about the energy that you're spending. You think about the things that you need, and like, is it really necessary or is it just something that you want? Your needs and wants become completely different than if you were just sitting in a home and you're collecting things and you have all this stuff and you're just like going through the motions and you have somewhere to put something. Boats, you only have so much space, and so you have to be a lot more conscious about all the things around you, and that's something that I've really truly cherished. And then it's even like just the time that you get, now you have a different mindset to shift of how am I using my time and how am I spending it doing all the things that are necessary. But it's been Yeah, I'd say the biggest challenge is just getting conscious about all the things around you.
Absolutely. What are you, do you get any security issues around living in a sailboat from one place to another? Are there, do you also meet pirates like the old times? How does it look like? Means house on land and a house on the ocean are two different. I want to understand the practical part of that life. How does your son look at it? All water all through the day. Sometimes it can get boring or it's all the time exciting. Help us understand with that part of your life.
As far as the security goes, it's pretty random. It is very different. It just depends on the area that you're in and also where you're sailing. When we sailed in Honduras up and around Nicaragua, there was a lot of talk of piracy. And so we thankfully did have a buddy boat with us, and everybody was on alert basically. And we'd keep track of everyone and where they were at and stay within a certain mile distance of each other so that if anybody did need help, then we were there. Um, but it just depends on the places. Like I've seen like in Bocas del Toro that people have had people boarding their boat when they're not on their boat just to take things. Most of the time people have from the stories I've heard, it's because people are just trying to grab what they can. But then I've also been in a lot of places where I've never had any issues, and at least so far, knock on wood, I've never experienced anything like that. So we've been very blessed. And then here in San Blas, I feel like it's definitely very different right now because we're, like I said, we're farther out from in the islands, and so there's really nobody going to they're not looking at it in that sense to come grab things. If I was closer to the mainland, I might still close up my house a little bit more, but even like where we are currently, I have been like my house is always open. And I'll go out for a swim and my house is still open, and then I come back and everything's still fine. So it just depends on like the vibe of where you're kind of at that you and how many people seem to be around that you may or may not feel a little bit more comfortable opening it up a little bit more. But um I mean, I've heard definitely some stories in the past of things happening in certain places. Like I said, I've been very lucky not to have any issues. And as far as how my son looks at this, he absolutely loves this. He's been a water baby his whole life. So he actually really truly loves the water. And it's been so many beautiful shifts for him of how he gets to live and what he gets to learn on the water. He loves to learn about the fish. He's excited to learn all the different ones. If you open up his reef book, he could tell you a good portion of what they are, and he'll talk all day about them. So it's really sunk in for him that this is a passion for him and that he really enjoys to learn about it and to be experienced out in the wilderness. We actually just recently he kind of followed one of his idols that he who lives in Australia and swims the Great Barrier Reef, and he did a survivor day on one of the islands nearby us, and he just spent the whole day on the island, finding stuff to cut wood and to build himself a fire. And he went and caught himself a couple of little crabs so he could cook them in a shell and eat them, so as if he was trying to survive that way. And it was just really beautiful because he gets these different ideas of what he wants to do and how he wants to just try different things. He loves to go take his paddleboard out with all his fishing gear and go try and catch something. He'll be sitting out in the water for hours just, looking at what he can find. And one thing that we really are working on teaching him is sustainability. It's not about getting anything and everything. It's really also about getting what is necessary and being conscious that you can't just take it all, because if we take it all, there won't be anything left. So he's really learned so much in that mindset out in the water and just being able to just like provide for himself in a healthy manner.
Absolutely, Daniel. What about building a community around you? Means, how do you know who do you turn to for help beyond the authorities that are around or other places? In terms of community friends, how do you look at that part of life, or you do it, in whatever way you can offline, online, and still connected with your world from your water world?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because one thing that I have really loved is the sailing community is so helpful. Everyone is, at least the most, pretty much everybody I've come across has always been willing to help each other out. There's every area I go to, there's different chats in like WhatsApp and sometimes either like Facebook, but most of the time it's a WhatsApp. I mean, you could find sailing communities all over on Facebook and connect in that way. There's even an app called See People that has a lot of different group chats. There's so many ways to connect with other sailors, and so you really don't feel alone in that sense. You have people who are willing to jump up, and I even the other day my husband had seen one of the boats next to us who was coming into park. He landed on a reef, got stuck. They were trying to pull themselves off but couldn't get it, so my husband jumped on the dinghy and he went right over there and helped them out. And that's just such a common thing for the sailing community. Is you see somebody, you go help them out. Like, you don't just leave them high and dry. And so it's really built, like, that has put a good sense of like just self-awareness, because I noticed too when people are on land a lot, they feel the diffusion of responsibility, and they don't really like, you might see somebody hurt and they're pulling out an iPhone to immediately help some to watch them or watch what happens and just get it on camera. They're not actually even helping half the time. Whereas in the sailing community that I've met, a lot of the people, if you put out something or somebody sees something that is not okay, they usually step out of their comfort for a moment and help go see what they can do to help you get out of your struggle. So I've really enjoyed that a lot. Sometimes it can still get like a little bit lonely depending on the area that you might be in, though. I know when we first got sailing, we decided we did not want to stay in the Rio for hurricane season, and we came out to Honduras. And we sailed around with the people that we actually bought the boat from, but there were no other boats really. Like, there was a few here and there of like some older people, and we met them, and it was great. But being a family with a child, it was also very lonely. You had to really stretch yourself out there to go connect with other families on the land, and it was hit or miss. We did meet a couple families, which was great, but they were on one island on one side. So if we wanted to stay there all the time, then we'd go visit them. But if we also wanted to jump around to the other islands and stuff, you wouldn't see them for weeks. So my son got a good grasp of, you learn to talk to anybody and everybody, but at the same time, take it for what you can and enjoy the people around you a lot. And so that's been a huge shift in that sense and learning that. Thankfully, we did also have, our boat buddies were with us, and they're great people to hang out with. So it still gave us the sense of community that we needed. And so it's really just a matter of getting intentional about who you're going to go spend time with and trying to put yourself out there with new people on a regular.
Absolutely, Danielle. So, if I understand, you're building a business also around it, so that you can, others can also benefit from what you are doing in that sense.
Yeah, so I've been building a vision of Water World Micro Expeditions for the last year. And I actually took a World School Hub Creator course just to kind of like help guide myself in this process. And for over the last year, I've been talking about it, but I kept kind of holding myself back because I'm like, I need a bigger boat. Like, I need to have a catamaran. That was originally our dream. And we ended up in a monohull for right now, which is just another stepping stone to my next move. And it was interesting because we, didn't think that we were quite ready for it. But recently I had a couple of backpackers who came on board and they needed a ride over from Linton to San Blas. And we had such a beautiful experience with them. We absolutely loved it. We got to show them San Blas and different things that they had never gotten to experience and do. We took them, snorkeling. We took them fishing. My husband taught them how to fillet fish. They got to learn boat life and some other things, and they absolutely loved it, and as much as we did. And it was actually, that was kind of one of the starts of our dream when we started this, was that we wanted to be able to travel with people, because it's a cool experience to travel and be able to have other people around you and not just feel alone all the time. And so once we had these people on, we realized, we're like, why are we holding ourselves back? Why should we just like not start with a small couple or group at a time. We can take on enough people that it can be intimate and doesn't have to be super big. And so we decided to stay here in San Blas for a while and charter because it's such a unique place. And a lot of I've seen different world school hubs, and I've also seen just different like experiences where people, yes, you can charter a boat, but how many people are focusing on intentionality in actually like the experience of reconnecting with nature, going back out there and really like resetting your nervous system. I've also been in the health industry for over 15 years. And so understanding health and settling the mind and the body is also a big thing for me. And so being able to integrate, using the ocean as our classroom, because it is such a beautiful place to learn, seeing the animals, regulating the nervous system, and just really also getting to experience something different is really been a beautiful thing. And I think that more people who are, especially those who love the water, would love this experience, especially if you're thinking about getting on a boat possibly. So yeah, we decided to create this and open this opportunity for more people to experience boat life, experience, going and seeing marine life, especially while hopefully gaining a new respect for it. Because as much as I hate to say it, our waters are in kind of a struggle as much as the world is right now. And so when we gain more perspective and respect for the ocean, we might actually come back with a different a way to be nicer to the planet as well. And so that was also kind of my idea of it, and regulating also our nervous system.
Wonderful, wonderful. So for people who want to experience that life, they can connect with you now and experience that life. Is it open?
Yes, it is. You can find us at waterworldmicroexpeditions.com.
Wonderful. And how do they get onto your boat? How would they know where you are? Is it that they have to get down to your boat wherever you are, or how does that work?
So you would take a flight into Panama City, and then from Panama City, we actually have a tour company that does land trips over. So you have two options. You could take another small plane, which is a little more expensive, and fly into one of the smaller islands. Or you could, from Panama City, the tour group that we have, that they'll pick you up from some hotel at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning in Panama City, and they bring you to the edge of the land where you'll check in through the Gunayala, which is the indigenous out here. And then you'll jump on a smaller, what they call a panga boat. And from the panga boat, they'll bring you to our boat exactly where we are by about 10:30 in the morning. So it's a little bit of a travel, but it's an interesting one. I feel like, that's always what makes the adventure an adventure.
Absolutely makes the adventure an adventure. And what are the benefits of the adventure that you are having, others can have if you want to? You talk about nervous system, you talk about learning from the ocean, and much more.
Yep. So the overall goal is, you get to see what and experience what boat life is a little bit like. Like I said before, gaining hopefully a new perspective and a different respect for the ocean, and getting to experience different things, going to swim with the sharks and experiencing, more sustainable fishing if you may or may not already have done that. And I also, like, as far as like even regulating the nervous system, I'm really working on integrating even like breath work or Kundalini yoga, just different ways to come back to your own self. And then also spending that time even in nature is such a huge thing as it is, because I think a lot of people, we forget, being in such a busy world, constantly moving and having to deal with getting up and running, rushing to work and doing things, that we don't spend that much time reconnecting with nature and ourselves. So that's a huge thing as well, as part of what I'm hoping to bring to more people.
Absolutely, Daniel. So, does it ever occur to you that, okay, there should be a plan B, or you already have a plan B, that this is only, for some time, or is this the life that you wanted and you will continue for quite some time to come?
Realistically, I'd say that I have right now the plan is to do this for a little while and then get into actually a bigger boat, and then we actually want to make it to the other side of the world. My son has a dream to swim in the Great Barrier Reef, and I really want to get to French Polynesia. So for right now, boat life is definitely our passion and where we're going to stay for a while. And just adding this in is another piece to our vision of giving us more purpose out on the water. So I feel like for a while we'll probably be out on the water and not thinking about, at some point I'm sure we'll come back to land, but right now it seems like this is just the calling for us where we want to be.
Wonderful, wonderful. There's so much to learn about all this, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn more about what you are doing, the way you are living, and also perhaps be your client, be on your boat. What's the best way for them to do so?
You can either check us out over on Facebook at Danielle Marie Vandehei. I'm also on Instagram at legacy_through-motherhood. Or if you want to enjoy one of our adventures, you can find us over at www.waterworldmicroexpeditions.com.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.